In this video, we're going to explore the review options for the JetNet quiz. Turning editing on, select where I want the quiz to be, choose quiz, I'm not going to worry about setting any of these options yet. I'm just going to save and display. And then I'm going to edit the quiz to make sure that there are some questions in this quiz. Returning to the quiz, I can now edit the settings so we can explore the review options. When you create a quiz shell and don't put quiz questions into it, you're going to see that some of the options here are going to be unavailable to you. For example, whether correct and points. Those will be selected and you won't be able to change them. You will be able to change them once you have questions in the quiz shell, and that's why I showed putting some questions in this quiz shell right from the very start. The other thing is that if there is no end date, you'll see that after the quiz is closed won't be available to you because there is no closing date. So once we put in a close date for the quiz, then some of these will become available to us. Just a couple of tips too, because sometimes you'll wonder, why is it that I can't check some of these off? And that can be controlled by things outside of the review options. All right, so let me go through the 4 categories of review options. First, during the attempt. During the attempt covers the time that the student is actually in the quiz taking the quiz itself. Immediately after the attempt covers only a 2-minute period after the student submits the quiz for grading. It's only 2 minutes. Next is the later while quiz is still open. So this is in effect, these settings are in effect from the time the quiz opens until the time the quiz closes. So you can imagine a situation where a student has completed their quiz and submitted it, but other students are still able to take the quiz. And then finally, after the quiz is closed, this is after the date when the quiz is no longer open for students to take it. So a common question is, how can I make sure that my students aren't taking the quiz and then sharing the right answers? Here's one way to do that, and that is to leave the defaults as they are. These are the default settings. If you leave the defaults as they are, the only thing that students are going to be able to see are the points. Now, I would recommend adding points to after the quiz is closed so that the student will be able to see the points that they've received on the quiz in the gradebook until the end of the class. But if you don't change anything else, then students won't be able to take the quiz, write down the correct answers, and share them. Now, an alternate situation is an instructor might want to set up a quiz as a practice quiz so that a student can learn how they're taking the quiz and learn from the quiz experience before they take an actual assessment. So what you will do there is you will say immediately after, choose the attempt and whether correct. And then if you include specific and general feedback in the quiz, if you write your own quiz questions and put those elements in, or if your textbook publisher includes those kinds of elements in the quiz shells that they provide or in the quiz question bank, then you can add those, but generally those aren't available, so I don't worry about them. I just make sure that I've got the top 3 selected. And then again, here in later while the quiz is still open, because I don't care if students share answers, because they're going to see the answers anyway. And then again, after the quiz is closed, I still allow them to see the answers if I want them to be able to. If I don't, then I can close those. So again, just in quick review, the review options can be controlled by things outside of the review options element. There are 4 times when these review options are in effect: during the attempt, immediately after, which remember is 2 minutes after the student finishes the quiz, later while the quiz is still open to students, and then after the quiz is closed, and again, that is determined by the fact that there's actually a close date. One last tip. You will not be able to change whether correct or points during the attempt until there are questions actually in the quiz. Hopefully this has been informative, and if you have questions about quizzes, contact me.